everyone. Watch out for the carpet. Gotcha. Hi, my name is Anand Kalra. I use he and him pronouns or they. I'm a trans guy. I can be flexible about that. And I am the executive director here at Qwere Cultural Center. So glad to be here with you here in person and out in the internet. Can you see us? Can you hear us? There's a 10-second delay, so FYI. I write things down so that I don't just ad-lib. I'm here to tell you a few things. One, that it takes a whole village of people to put on an event like this to be able to have the wonderful production and facilities and lights and sound and people writing the thing and people paying people and all that kind of stuff. So there's a whole team I need to thank. So the people I want to thank first are the other staff members at Qwere Cultural Center: Sara Guerra, Vienna Alvarez, Ali Scott, our communications coordinator, Jennifer Ledesma. Today and always for QCC, our digital production lead is Gwen Park, back in the booth. Annie Danger is lead on safety. Thank you to Gwen and Maya Chinchilla for putting together this incredible show that you're about to see. Thank you to all the artists that QCC has been able to commission for the more than 20 events in the 26th annual National Queer Arts Festival. You're going to get to meet some of those special someones today, the lead artists for those events. Thank you to the front of house staff for checking people in, doing the box office, the volunteers. Thank you to the ASL interpreters. Thank you to all the staff at SOMARTS. Thank you to our special partners at Bay Area American Indian Two Spirits. And thank you to our many foundation funders who have supported us and government funders as well, including the San Francisco Arts Commission, the Akanadi Foundation, the Alameda County Arts Fund, the East Bay Fund for Artists, the California Arts Council, Horizons Foundation, National Endowment for the Arts, the Phyllis Wattis Foundation, Ruth Arts Foundation, San Francisco Grants for the Arts, the Trans Justice Funding Project, the Walter and Elise Haas Foundation, the Sellerbach Family Foundation, a text message came in, the William and Flora Hewlett Foundation. And of course, the people without whom none of any of this would make any sense, our live audience here and our people watching out in internet land. Yes, thank you. Okay, so are you ready for this? You ready for this exciting? Yes, yes. Thank you. All right, so let's get this show started.
Thank you so much for being here with us today, of all days. We have, I have some business to get to at the beginning, but we have this. You're welcome to take a look at my outfit or our beautiful guests to my left, which we will introduce in just one moment. I'm your host, Maya Chinchilla, finally here in Qwere in SOMARTS. And today's show is happening both in person and via YouTube, because we can go both ways, right? So any audience members at any time, feel free to make noise and encourage us on. Otherwise, we're going to be having a fabulous little kiki over here at the table. But it has taken us a while to come back and be here in live, in person, because of that that C word, right? Not that C word, Jay. Get your mind out of the gutter. The other C word, I don't even want to say her name because I don't know if it's like Candyman, you say her name 2 times or 3 times, it might come up. But we do all love that other C word though, so it's okay. Yeah, we want that. We're going to bring that into this show. So today's show is all about NQAF, or the National Queer Arts Festival, or NQAF. We're trying to make that stick so you can spread that around. It started just a few days ago. This year's festival ranges from panels, music, theater, and a whole lot more, anything you can think of. Some shows are in person, some shows are virtual, some are both. We can do it all. And we have some of our NQAF festival artists with us today. But in my head, I'm imagining that we're in like a studio audience with like interns and a whole writing studio. So maybe we can make that happen with this, this venture right here. But first, let's introduce our guests. I'm going to have you all, about 30 seconds, introduce yourselves, and then we'll get into your shows.
Sure. Hello, I'm Gabrielle Christian. I'm originally from Harlem, New York. Is this good? Okay, Harlem, New York, and currently live in Oakland, in Fruitvale. I'm a multidisciplinary artist, a director, performance artist, a dancer, curator, and just a loving human being. Happy to be here today.
Welcome.
And I'm Qwere Crouch, she, they pronouns. And I am also a multidisciplinary artist, a writer, a curator, and I'm also one half of OYSTERKNIFE with Gabrielle. And we're like a performance art duo, you could say. We direct and create our own immersive performance art, combining theater and dance and poetry and video and everything you can think of. We do it all. So happy to be here.
Hi, my name is Gaia WXYZ, spelled WXYZ. My pronouns are they, them. I'm a cartoonist, an educator, and as of this week, a curator.
Yeah.
I co-curated the Murmurations Gallery show, which is on view here until June 30th at Somart. So you should definitely check it out if you're in the Bay.
And I'm Tony Taylor. I am the founder of It's Qwere, which is a community social group that centers and highlights the experiences of Black and brown queer folks. And our current production is Mighty Real, a sketch variety show, which is inspired by In Living Color, SNL, Mad TV, featuring a cast of women of color and written by queers and women. So that show is this Saturday, and I'm really excited to talk about it today.
Yes. Thank you so much for being here with me today, our inaugural live and queer show. But Gaia, since you just had the opening to the art show that's here at Somarts, and you're going to have a closing as well, can you tell us a little bit of some of the highlights of your show?
Yeah, so our opening was on Friday, June 9th, 6/9 from 6 to 9, and it went phenomenally well. We had Auntie Bibi, who is a Mahu Two-Spirit Indigenous Hawaiian drag queen, opened the event with a very powerful performance that just sort of drew on the current events, especially going on here in this country, the anti-trans legislation and sort of pushing back against that. Then we had Maya Songbird, who is the legendary Bay Area performer and runs Maya's Magic Shop. She's from the Castro originally. Then we had Papi Churro, who is a Latinx drag king, phenomenal performer as well. And then we closed out the night with Bomb Snacks.
Yeah.
Yes, Bomb Snacks. I was not planning on being a performer myself at the opening. I am performing at the closing. In addition to drawing and creating multimedia art, I'm also a musician, so I'm gonna have a solo set at the closing on June 30th. But Bomb Snacks, they were like, get your whole life, so I got my whole life up on the stage twerking, and it was incredible.
Yeah. I was here, I lived it. I can co-sign that it was incredible. There was some purple, shiny biker shorts, right?
Like two purple grapes.
Yes, absolutely. Delicious and nutritious. Nature's candy, as they say.
And I would be amiss if I did not shout out DJ Dell because she opened and closed the night for us as well.
Yes. So it's like not only visual art, taking it all in, the actual people wandering around, the gorgeousness. That's my favorite part of QCC's Queer Arts Festival is also the people that come. But yes, all of the senses were titillated and interacted with. Absolutely, great. Thank you so much. Tony, can you tell us a little bit about the show that you are, I guess you're one of the masterminds behind it. So tell us what to expect.
Yeah, well, you guys can expect a lot of laughter,
Yes.
which I think we really need. I think as queer folks of color, a lot of times, and particularly women and people with different abilities, we're often the butt of the joke, so it's really nice to be creating the space where we're not only telling the jokes, but we're laughing at ourselves and creating a safe space where we can feel seen and heard and, you know, encouraged to be funny. So I think you can expect just some topics that are going to be realistic, you know, things that we all deal with in our day-to-day lives, and just spinning that on its head to make it funny. I think the one sketch that comes to mind is called the Bisexual Ghost Support Group.
Yes.
And it's
Tell me
talking
more.
about, you know, life as a ghost and how you're just, you are what you are, there's no in between, and these ghosts are, you know, fighting for their identity. So that one's really, really funny, but the entire show is really funny and the cast is really talented, so I'm probably not doing as much justice as the show deserves, but I think really it's about being authentic and showing up and just making fun of ourselves in the best way possible.
Absolutely. I love that. Yes.
That's what the G in LGBTQ stands for, right? It's ghost,
Yeah.
right?
Ghost bisexual,
Yes,
of course.
ghost
Yeah, of
bisexual.
course.
Ghost bisexuals.
Sure.
Yes. Yes. Add to the alphabet.
Plus.
Yeah, so OYSTERKNIFE, these two lovelies are next to me. Can you tell me a little bit about what we should expect? I hear you have so many multifacets happening, and I want to get a little taste. So tell me what's going to be happening in your show.
Yeah, I'll start. Well, it is going to be a snippet, a kind of work in progress appetizer for our larger show that's happening at Grace Cathedral in February 2024. And the title of the show is called Mouthful. And it was originally done in 2019 at Counterpulse, and it's a piece where Gabe and I were kind of exploring our relationships to church and to spirituality as Black queer people who both grew up in church. I grew up in a Catholic church. Gabe grew up in like Black church, Black Baptist
Church, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so we're kind of examining church. What does it mean as queer people to be in those kind of spaces? Can church be a healing space? Can it be a space that's safe for us? But also, how can we recognize the ways that Black spiritual spaces, and especially Black Christian Black Christian spaces are actually very syncretic and are actually a combination of a lot of different spiritual practices from indigenous African cultures that have been transformed to accommodate the ways that we need to survive here. So that's kind of the gist of it, and you want to say more about what you can expect?
There's so much that in the show that when you think about, you know, praise dancing, or there's this thing called church mime where folks in some parts of Philadelphia or New York will put on white gloves and white face paint and do sort of like this really curious sort of form of like worship that involves like lip syncing, but with their bodies to gospel music, which I find to be a drag show basically. So we're connecting drag and masquerade and all these different forms that actually really are aligned with each other, and trying to find a way to make that live in Grace Cathedral, which is this huge, iconic building that has also not always been the safest space. Or until recently, I feel like now it's getting more and more available for queer masses and queer people to be there to be in some sort of congregation. So we're doing our little preview this Friday, 8 p.m. At Grace Cathedral.
Oh, that's amazing. And you actually got up real early this morning to give a little bit of church.
That's the coffee cups.
Yes, the coffee cups. With our lovely, the renowned and special place in my heart with Marvin K. White, right? Would you be willing to maybe share a little snippet of some of your work with us?
A privilege, a total privilege, yeah.
Yes,
song.
a little
Should we sing We Are Alive?
here.
Yeah.
Okay. Y'all ready for
All
it?
right, sure.
All right.
Okay.
You about to get something?
For free, okay. All right. Pardon, let me just. Mm-hmm.
those who have yet to meet themselves. If we have no fear, we have no foe. We are alive and it is so. We are alive and it is so. We are alive and it is so. For those who greet the full moon howling, for those who hide in the belly of a snake, for those who cannot cry without drowning, for those memories full of ache, for those who call a name out in the darkness, for those who cannot feel the flesh of the land, for those who forget that they are small gods, for those who found life in another's hands. If we have no fear, we have no foe. We are alive and it is so. We are alive and it is so. We are alive and it is so. So that was a song that we actually co-arranged with two collaborators of ours in our 2019 production, which was Mutima Imani and Monica Hastings Smith. The late Monica Hastings Smith.
Founder of
rest in
Boom Shake
peace.
Music. And
Gabe's cousin, actually.
Cousin I found out very late in our friendship, actually.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful soul. And she and Mutima helped us co-create the song in rehearsals, and I wrote the lyrics for it. And we actually had 11 different guest performers in that original 2019 production, and that was just one piece that we did for that show. It was epic. It was great.
Overachievers.
Yeah, wish y'all were there. Yeah, we were definitely overachievers. It was meant to be a work in progress show, and we literally did like an evening length show.
And here we are.
I mean, art is life, and life is art, and it's given us life. Like, we just gotta keep going, keep giving.
You can't limit that.
And thank you for giving us that. Like, I am so just ready for June, for all the things that are coming at me, and all of us in this community. So with that kind of art, I mean, really, like, we got everything happening just even on this panel, the visual art, the grapes, the soul, the spirit, the humor, everything. Yes, other worlds. I love it. I love it. All right, so let me see. We have, I would love to talk to you a little bit about, creating this kind of work and creating space, especially for, BIPOC folks. How we get our stuff out into the world and what it's been like. Are there certain things that you try to infuse in your work in general, or challenges that you would like to see eradicated? You could sort of pick up on any one of those questions. Does anybody want to start with that about making space?
Move out the way.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I will start.
Yeah.
To say that
Yes, get it.
having the opportunity to tap people from the community and say, hey, I want a piece of yours for this show. I had artists who were like, I haven't exhibited ever. This is my first gallery show.
Wow. Yeah.
One artist, this was her first gallery show. Another artist was like, I haven't painted since I graduated college. I'm feeling like, unmotivated, but for you, I'll do it. And I was like, see, that's the power of having people from your tribe, from your, group of identity say, hey, we want you.
Yeah.
This is real.
Yeah.
Your work is valid and it deserves an audience. I'm somebody who, I've been drawing since I was like a wee little baby, but it wasn't until curating this show and teaching. My other practice is that I am an adjunct lecturer. Helping
Blessings
right?
to you doing that work.
At UC Berkeley, nonetheless.
Yes. 70% of professors are adjuncts part-time
Yeah.
without full-time employment.
My students call me professor, and I'm like, listen, until they give me health insurance, you are not to refer to me as such. I appreciate the respect that is in that, but like, let's call it what it is.
Yes.
Seeing people like have these opportunities come to them, and the gratitude and the sort of like way that it lights them up, I'm like, oh wait, I'm not a baby anymore. Like, I'm not an emerging artist anymore. And that's powerful because a lot of us don't get to go past that.
Yeah.
And so like claiming that, because I think as people of color, there's this tendency to like want to not hide necessarily, but not take up too much space or try to claim something that isn't ours, because we've been told for generations that we're not allowed to have anything, right? So to actually be like, no, like, I curated, and this is my first time, but it is certainly not going to be my last.
Real.
You know, like spreading that.
Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, the seeing other people, you know, because I think if you are receiving a lot of aggressions, micro or macro, you know, it's a big deal to put yourself out there over and over again. So yeah, thank you for that. Anybody else want to jump in on creating spaces?
Yeah. I want to piggyback off of what Gaia said, because I really think it is about bringing in other voices and bringing in other folks from the community and giving people the space to share for the first time, or you know, for the 100th time, because really it's that collective voice that creates something really special and unique. And you know, the sketch variety show was a concept that I had, but you know, it's not reinventing the wheel. Like, this has been done before, and but making it unique and nuanced in such a way that, you know, a lot of folks have come to me and said, I've never seen anything like this before. I have never seen, you know, aside from recently a Black Lady sketch show, I've never seen a sketch comedy lineup of all women of color, you know, queer writers. I mean, everyone that we've tapped for this has their own unique perspective, and that's the beauty of this, is we can create an authentic space where people can just, you know, there's no parameters. I don't have any like preconceived, this is the theme, or this is the kind of approach you should take. I'm like, you're the talented person here. You go and you write whatever's in your heart, and then, you know, the actors take those words and they imbue a new life into that. So it's really a beautiful collective of creative people sharing their experiences in their own way, and tapping folks from the community, I think, is really what it's about, and bringing everyone in with you as much as you can.
Have there been any surprises in particular of having these shows? I mean, because you started before in 2018, right? And then 2019, and then we had some pandemic times, right? We all had to shift. But were there any surprises to you about, I don't know, maybe more shy performers, shy writers, or anything that comes to mind? I just want to get a taste.
You say surprises, and I think, of course, that like my brain just goes to like the challenges and the things I didn't anticipate. But I think some of the really positive surprises have been the network, and thinking like, we did the show in November, and someone pulled out the day before the show. And, in that moment, my brain starts going into reaction mode, and, one of the backstage folks said, I can do it. I've been running lines anyway, so I know a lot of the material.
Yes.
And that's, just divine intervention. That is everyone being where they're supposed to be at the right time. And, the cast ended up being exactly what it should have been, thanks to that person who had to back out at the last minute, So I think the surprise is like being in the moment and just having faith that we're on the right trajectory, and that the right folks are gonna come to you when they need to be there.
Yeah, I love that. And I love live performance, and the magic. It's like, show must go on kind of thing, and what happens, and that just sounds like, it's scripted, but it's also, it's life, and and it's a reflection of what's happening in the world. Like, perfection is a myth, and
real.
But creativity can come out of that, of those clashes and uncertainties as well. But I love that there are people like you who are telling people and doing backstage stuff and all of that, so that we can be more amazing people. So shout out to curators, organizers, and masterminds.
There's so much work that goes on behind the scenes, and you don't necessarily realize until you're put in that position of like, hey, it's time to install a show, and you got 5 days, and I'm like, okay, but can we actually make it 7? Because like, this is a lot of work.
And they're like, no.
And I'm like, but we're gonna do it. Sorry.
And we need snacks and to hydrate. Yes, absolutely. I always imagine that. Like, what would it be if I didn't have to juggle and do all those things and write the grants and try to get into all the different things. Like,
that is something I feel like as people of color we have to deal with extra. Is like, just surviving is a lot of work, right? But if we want to like manifest our visions, like we can't do that without the foundation of survival, right? So, fun fact, I actually worked 16 days straight before our opening because I had to move houses because my housing instability, right? So like that's another thing that I think as creatives we take for granted. We look on Instagram and we're like, wow, look at this artist, they have such fantastic work. Yeah, their mommy and daddy has a trust fund for them. And good for them. I'm not here to, hate on people for what they have, but we also need to like say these things so that people know, like, wow, what you did, it's not just amazing, it's incredible that you were able to accomplish that despite, the challenges of being a Black gender non-conforming person in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and if you have that extra, give, make space, like step up, step back. But do you have anything else you want to add to that?
Well, I definitely agree with the idea of inviting people in. I feel like Gabe and I, as very collaborative people, do that a lot in our work. But I think also another aspect of it is not asking permission. It's just like doing the damn thing. Like Gabe and I both started out in theater, and theater's great. We love it. We still incorporate it into our shows. But we both got, and I hope I'm speaking correctly for you, that I think we both got really tired of the ways that, it felt like I constantly had to ask permission to do something more, to do something different, to do, I didn't feel like I had a lot of agency as an actor to kind of do the kind of work I wanted to do. And so that's kind of why Oysterknife happened. We were just like, let's just do it. Let's just make our own work and put in the things that we want to put in it. Let's do some song, let's do some ritual theater, let's bring in text, let's bring in, projections, like whatever we want to do, let's just do it. And so I think a lot of it is about, just knowing that you have the agency to make it happen, and you don't have to ask anybody to give you space to do that.
Right, and then rather than never being, a token in any space, you can also always bring the entire squad. I feel like that's always happened for us. We just brought, like the last show we did at Counterville, to bring it up again, it was like a half an hour show, became an hour, 11 collaborators, all designers are Black, everyone was Black and queer in every possible way that we could in that show, and I think it's become our notes, our signature.
Yeah.
We did another show in the Haight Ashbury with Joe Good Performance Group as a co-direction team. And again, we were like, okay, we need to pull in all the folks we know who are from SF, from the Bay Area in some way, who are Black and queer identified. It was all about the Haight Ashbury being this formerly Black neighborhood that now has sort of gotten washed over by hippie culture in a way, which is also beautiful, but it's a different thing and has sort of invalidated or erased some of the other histories of Black working class folks in that neighborhood. So it's always about excavation. That I think is just a fun way to make space, literally, without permission, and not asking for forgiveness either after you've done the work of carving your way into the next part of the city.
Because if we'd asked, like, can we do an evening length show? They would have said no. So we just did it.
Here we are with like a limited time in Grace Cathedral for a week in February, which we didn't know was even possible until we did this show in 2019. So it's just a wild cycle of potential that we're
and speaking of, calling in the squad, like, do you have any inspirations or anybody who's guided you or ways that you've come to agreements in bringing people in or collaboration or things that you've learned that you are now using in that practice that we can learn from? Because I think also that is another challenge of being either a solo artist or working with groups. There's always like electricity and sometimes clash, but is there some sort of like way that you move in the world, or somebody, a mentor maybe, who gave you some things to think about?
Well, with Oysterknife, our name Oysterknife comes from a Zora Neale Hurston essay called How It Feels to Be Colored Me. And I'm paraphrasing the quote, but it comes from a sentence where she says, basically, no, I do not weep at the world for being Black. I'm too busy sharpening my oyster knife because the world is my pearl, basically. It's like that saying, the world is your oyster, rather. The world is your oyster. So she was definitely a huge inspiration for us because she herself had a very long and storied and diverse career. Like, she did anthropology, she was an actor, she wrote theater, she was an academic, she was a dancer, she did everything. And she didn't care that, for her time, women, especially Black women, were expected to do very particular things, and she didn't ask permission. And so I think, she's a huge inspiration for us in terms of, the amount of things she's done, the wide variety of her work, and also the ways that she was really dedicated to centering Black people in all their authenticity and all their rawness, like no apology, no respectability. She was really dedicated to, centering Black stories and Black people, and that's a huge part of our work,
I love that. Thank you for that. And on that tip of, I want to bring in also your co-collaborator, Gaia Xtal, who did the opening the year prior and then brought you in. And I remember at the opening on Friday, one of the things that was said was that we wanted to come to this in a good way, right? So on that idea of like collaboration, was there anything you learned or that you feel like you want to bring forward from that experience of collaboration?
Yeah, I think that, first of all, Xtal Azul is a phenomenal creator, member of the Bay Area Indigenous Two Spirits Board, just like all around badass. And I am so, so grateful to her for choosing me to be the co-curator this year. I was a participating artist last year, and at a Divide and Dissolve show, which is an incredible band if you haven't heard of, black femme-fronted heavy music. She came up to me and was like, would you like to co-curate National Queer Arts Festival? And I was just like, yeah. So, you know, I feel like there was this really good combination of like my sort of like first timer enthusiasm and their like experience, you know, like knowing when to do what and having a good sense of timing and pacing. Plus me, like, I'm just the type of person who, like, I love people and I love this community in the Bay Area and just getting to know other artists and stuff. So I was like, oh, we're gonna have, you know, Mondo High and Mirrored Fatality and da-da-da-da-da. And she was like, awesome, I'm so glad you know all these people I don't know about, right? So it's like, not discounting, like, everything about life and everything that we do can come together to form our practice, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think that there's a tendency, especially in the fine art world, to think, oh, well, you know, that's not fine art, or this isn't fine art, you know, but collaboratively seeing our strengths, like, reflected back at us, and doing things in a good way. Xtal brought that up because I think there's such a hustle and grind culture, right? Like,
Yes,
it kind of makes us start to fight each other when we don't necessarily have to do that.
Yeah.
So we started, we had a lot of Zoom meetings, right? And Zoom meetings are just like exhausting. Like, I don't know about y'all, but it's like 3 years in, we're like, can we not anymore? We actually had great time on Zoom because we started every Zoom meeting with a smudge. We would both have our little, you know, burning herbs and do a land acknowledgement and honor our ancestors and honor, you know, the elements, the directions. Like, we were literally having a mini ritual at the beginning of every Zoom meeting, and I left every Zoom meeting feeling that sense of replenishment and that sense that, like, yes, this is hard work, but it is the right work to be doing in this moment. So I think that was the big thing, was like realizing, like, yeah, we're putting together an art show, but we're also redefining what it means to be workers. You know, we don't have to spend every single moment trying to be as productive as possible.
Yeah, I love that. I love that so much, and I'm really glad that, you know, QCC is open and has some of that, you know, just really making space for us to, you know, standing back, giving us a container to kind of do that.
And flexibility too, you know.
Flexibility.
Yeah.
Yes. Not like, you know, at a certain point, probably also the container lets us also, you know, make it happen too, right? Flex back. I don't know why, I'm just standing next to him, like, I want to dance and sing, so I don't know. Yeah. Tony, I want to just follow up. Do you have any inspirations that you kind of bring, or, you know, folks that kind of gave you, you know, what you wanted to do, or sometimes we have inspirations that show us what we don't want to do? I don't know, is there anything that you can share on that?
It's kind of twofold, because I was talking to my parents about this, saying I don't know where this came from, this inspiration to create this show. It's like beyond me. It's not something that I ever sought for myself, being, you know, a director of a show. And so I think ancestors are working and, you know, putting on me what needs to be put on me. And then also the show is called Mighty Real, and it's modeled after You Make Me Feel, Mighty Real, which is a song by Sylvester.
Yes.
And I think, you know, just him being a flamboyant, you know, almost gender non-conforming before we had that language,
Yes.
entertainer and performer, and, you know, with the wigs and the sequins and all the bangles and the jewels, you know, he was really ahead of his time. You know, I think about people that we have now, like Billy Porter or Lil Nas X, or, you know, these people who are almost normal now in 2023. He was way ahead of his time, and I just, you know, that song really spoke to me, and I think his presence also really inspired me. So in a way, I just am honoring his legacy and his energy by bringing that freedom into the work that we're creating.
Yes. Yes, and you know, like that language that comes from queer and trans folks,
Right.
especially Black and brown folks too,
Yeah.
that mighty realness, all of that language that now people don't even think about the roots, but how people did that, showed up and created their own language, their own ways of being, their own gender performance, like that is, for me, something that I'm constantly trying to make sure that I know where that stuff comes from and respecting it, because that creativity just gets like, you know, taken and repackaged and resold, and yet we still need to take care of those folks that created that magic for the rest of us, or
Yeah.
paved a way, right? Many of them paved a way with their lives, you know, they were in the, I don't give a fuck because nobody gives a fuck about me, but I'm going to live in this way authentically. And unfortunately, some of those folks, you know, they died young because of the conditions around the world we live in.
Yeah, both of the ancestors that we've called in today, Zora Neale Hurston and Sylvester, did not die in a good way. You know what I mean? Like, they died without their honor, without that, you know, compensation. And so to say, like, Black people invented rock and roll, we're still inventing stuff, and so it's not just a historical thing that just happened once. I think to place these things in a contemporary context of, these are the people that we're inspired by, and we recognize the injustice that occurred in their lives. It's not just, oh, they were brilliant creators. They were brilliant creators who created in contrast to the world they were living in resistance to it.
And and it makes me think, like, if folks who are new to the community or maybe trying to be a good ally, a co-conspirator, sometimes I think it's important for them to acknowledge, like, why we show up in the ways that we do, you know, multiple reasons why we may not want to go to a space if we don't feel safe. That idea of safety, you know, may be somewhat of an illusion, but also, if we are showing up our full, entire peacock selves, you know, I mean, and you're like, wow, but think about all that came before for you to be able to do that. Yeah, and you know, some of that's money, some of that's space, some of that's love, some of that's food, you know, hydration.
And all of those things.
Sleep.
Sleep, spirit, some herbs, I don't know, yes, yeah, all of it in a cauldron, absolutely, yeah. So, since we are in Pride Month, not sponsored by anybody other than QCC for this panel, no big corporations, are there any other shows or events that you're looking forward to? You know, whether it be in the National Queer Arts Festival, any other ones. You could also just say that you were just looking forward to today, to this show, but, or if you don't have one, you know, if there's one that you can call from the past. But is there anything that you're looking forward to this month?
Actually, so aside from our show, OYSTERKNIFE show, there's a festival called Fresh Meat Festival, and they have a lineup of like all trans performers, and it looks really freaking dope. And I'm going to that. I think it's like the 16th to the 18th of this month, and it looks, it's such a great lineup. Y'all should go.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Any other shows or events?
I forget the name of it, but there's a show coming up that's honoring Octavia Butler. And I picked up Parable of the Sower, like many people during the pandemic, and so I'm really, you know, did a deep dive on her. So I'm really looking forward to that performance.
Yeah, I think that's at the end of the month,
Yeah.
so June 30th, but in the QCC lineup for sure.
Ooh, so it's competing with our closing show.
There's enough.
There's time for everything. I'm personally almost overwhelmed at the amount of amazing things happening this month. Here at SoMarts, on the 23rd, after the Trans March, I believe Lion Martin is having a fundraiser. And there's a bunch of Yama Uba and Pride Month Barbie and Light Asylum. Yeah, so really amazing performers, queer and trans. So if you haven't had a chance to check out the gallery show and you don't make it to either of these phenomenal performances, you can go then. That's on Friday the 23rd. And then there's a day party. I can't remember what it's called yet. Oh gosh, look at us not remembering names of it. Big Frida is headlining.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and like I'm pretty sure Baby Mother is Doing a DJ set. Like, it's just like the lineup is like that. Yeah, so I'm really happy because my auntie who DJ'd the opening actually booked us a hotel for the weekend so that we don't have to go back to the East Bay because it's going to be Friday night to Saturday morning. Just like,
That is the kind of support I am talking about. Hotel rooms, you got a pool, you want to have a pool party, that also will help me in my spirit. But also the folks at home, I believe there's a chat. If you have any events that you would like us to know about, this chat and this video will live on in perpetuity forever is what I was told. We shall see. But hello to the folks at home watching. I don't know if you're horizontal, vertical, or sitting down, but I hope you're enjoying yourselves. All right, so why don't we give our little, our little 1-2 shot about promoting your own show then, after giving love for other people. Who wants to start?
Talking about our shows?
Yes,
Yeah.
and when it is, and how they can get to it.
Yeah, hell yeah. Well, our show is Mighty Real, a sketch variety show. You can go to mightyreal.eventbrite.com. And I think I've already spoken quite a bit about it, but I was thinking of some of the song parodies that we have in the show as well, and one of my favorites from that is called Leave My Account Open. And it's a parody of Bruno Mars and Anderson .Paak's Leave the Door Open. But this is about our relationship with Amazon Prime. And, we know it's bad, but also we don't want to spend money on shipping, so we're going to leave our account open. So that was really funny. And there's another parody that rips on Gwen Stefani's Hollaback Girl, and it's called Took It From a Black Girl. Yeah. So that one kind of speaks for itself, and that one's really, really funny. But I think, it's a sketch show, but the parodies, I think, are one of the most exciting parts to me about this show, because I just love music and dance. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. And I think the show really speaks for itself. If you like sketch comedy, if you like women, if you like, poetry. Yeah, we've got a little bit of everything. It's a varietal experience. And it's here on this stage next Saturday.
Oh, good. So you're already comfortable with the space. You know where the bathrooms are. Gwen, our producer, loves parody songs. So if anybody wants to go back to our archives online, we got a couple in there that we used to put into the shows. And, maybe I hear a collaboration coming on. Yes. So, Gaia, you want to tell us about we've heard a little bit about it, but just the meat and greet, what people need to know, how they need to find it.
Yeah, absolutely. So Marts has open hours. I believe it's Thursday through Sunday, and the hours depend on the day. I believe on the weekends it's 12 to 5, and then different hours on Thursday and Friday. So if you just want to come and see the show, you're welcome to do that. It is open until June 30th. But if you want to see the closing ceremony, that is going to be on Friday, June 30th from 5 to 8 p.m. And again, we have dancers, we have musicians, I'm going to be performing again, and there are a couple of sort of like audience participation elements to our show as well.
Like audience participation?
There is a community altar that you are welcome to bring artifacts, objects, photos, flowers, and there is also in the annex an 18+ only video installation that has little Easter bunnies that I don't know if we didn't really tell people at the opening that they're allowed to take them, but you're allowed to take those little chocolate bunnies. Yeah, you're allowed to. There's chocolate inside. So yeah. June 30th, 5 to 8 p.m. Other than that, you can see the show at either of these performances. The gallery doors will be open.
Excellent. So anytime they come to Marts, they can go there. And also there's just other times. People want to be alone with their thoughts and the bunnies. Yeah, right.
Murmurations, queer bodies of work.
I wish we were at so much because I feel like everyone cool is here right now too. But we're still at Grace Cathedral, June 16th, 8 p.m., which is this Friday. And then we have our bigger show again February. We have the dates to be determined, but we have a larger show February 1st through.
Yeah, it should be the first week of February, potentially February 2024. Same place, Grace Cathedral.
Choirs, jazz bands, sculptures. It's called Mouthful. It's called Mouthful. Thank you. It's called Mouthful, which is our remake of a show we did in 2019.
It's got everything.
Yes, and this is like site-specific situation.
Just going to Grace by itself is just a gorgeous place to visit. Just for, you can just ignore us and just walk around the building. It will be making lots of sound, but you can just walk around and look at the stained glass. We are talking about one mural there that actually is a bit of a curiosity. There's a mural of the Three Kings, and there's a black figure in that mural that is facing away on his knees. That technically in this mural is a slave person. So we're kind of like, why is that still here? We should do that now. Why is it still here? And how can we work with and against that history of that mural, and also the space, which is actually more open now than it ever has been, but I think that's the one thing that still feels uncomfortable.
Yeah, there's still remnants of some things that we want to confront. So there'll be a lot of singing in this show. There'll definitely be a lot of audience participation. We love audience participation. If you ever go to an Oyster Knife show, you gotta get ready for that, because we'll pull you into the show.
We have to move around, migrate, here and there, and yeah.
Yeah, and also there'll be dance as well, and maybe a little sermon, but yeah, you gotta come and find out.
I'm calling it like our MTV Unplugged version of the show.
Yes, especially those who like to receive instructions. Come to the show, right? Yes, and also could all of you give are there any links or social tweet space talky things that people could follow you or I don't know, that word follower is weird, but you know, I like to see what people are doing at a random pace.
Join us on our creative journeys.
Well, I think tickets for our show are on the NQAF website, I'm pretty sure. And then if you want to follow us, we have an Instagram called @OYSTERKNIFE _. So you can look for us there to see more shows and things that we have coming up.
Yes.
Yeah, we're also on the website as well, but on socials, it's Qwere, and it's ITSQWERE. It's like we're queer is kind of the play on spelling there. It's queer.
It's queer. We love that. So the gallery show Murmurations has tickets on the Eventbrite for the closing as well. And if you want to follow my artistic journey, that is going to be Gaia WXYZ. And I have a lot of really exciting things coming up. I'm also going to Comic-Con in July, as well as having a solo show at Strut, the LGBT health clinic in the Castro. So yeah, definitely follow all of us, because I'm sure that you all have many exciting things in addition to the Grace Cathedral show. I'm sure It's Queer probably going to be somewhere else too.
I know, and worldwide, we're going worldwide. I mean, maybe just for now down to San Diego to Comic-Con, but you never can tell. And now we're streaming on the internet, so I hear that goes to a lot of places.
That's what I've heard.
I heard, some people on their little tiny phones will see our little tiny faces, but beautiful faces. So definitely check out all of the artists that are on this panel, their shows, their upcoming shows. I love seeing a show in progress too. It gives me life when somebody does a workshop of something and then I see them do something else. And yes, I love that. So invite me all the time, I will go. And a lot of these shows are no one turned away for lack of funds. That's something that QCC really believes in. But also if you have, please support these artists, in a monetary way as well. So
We'll take your money.
Yeah, we are not just about giving. We are open to receive. Yes. So that's reciprocal. So they gave you their socials. The links, I am told by the forces that be that will be in a chat somewhere. I don't know where this chat is. It happens without me. I'm so grateful for that, though.
It's just on that side, maybe it's rolling up.
Yeah, we could scrolling. Yeah, that would be great. Yeah. Up on top of my forehead, on my forehead. And also, of course, the old-fashioned way, you can go to queerculturalcenter.org or sign up for their newsletter. They have really beautiful newsletters. Sometimes my face pops up there. It's really weird, but I love that things get promoted through them, as also other things that are happening in the community, in the world, specifically of the festival and QCC. I personally am going to try to go to as many shows as I can. I love this festival. I made new friends the very first time in 2014 when I first participated, and again, QCC had like grant workshops, and and I was able to bring in other artists to surround me for my own show. So that was amazing, and I still see those folks now doing big things. And of course, my favorite part, I did mention this before, is not only looking at the art, but looking at the people in the audience. I'm a little bit of a people watcher, lurker, whatever you want to call it, stalker, no, I'm not a stalker, actually. It is about love and support. And, but really, like, sometimes I don't get to see a lot of people. Working hard, by myself a lot, talking to myself a lot, because I'm paid to do that. But really, like, I just love the audiences that each type of artist brings, new and sometimes faces that I have been meaning to reconnect with. So that's absolutely the kind of spaces that these are. So can you, when we are coming to the close of this show, I know it's really sad because I've been having such a great time.
Wait, that was an hour?
20 minutes.
Queer time.
It was an hour. We can just keep. You guys want to like open mic portion? Anybody else karaoke?
Like a box, we could just,
Yeah, no, we are actually behind time. We have like the flexibility, but any last thoughts?
Can we just celebrate the fact that this is the 26th annual iteration of this? I mean, to me, that's a huge deal.
Yeah, 26th annual and years of doing this, and I love hearing the history. There are some founders who really had a particular vision. They had a vision of also prioritizing, queer folks of color, and also had to learn with the times. When they were starting to do this, they were fighting for these spaces, and then times also changed, language has also changed. So that's no small task at all. And then bringing in some of the newer folks, and it's just going to constantly shift and change, which is, I think, a fabulous thing. But that's difficult. Other organizations, other spaces like to do sometimes the same over and over because that's a little bit safer. So queer space ain't safe, but we try to make it safe. Safe, but safe to be doing multiple kinds of things. Yeah.
Shout out to founders, I believe they're founders, Pam Peniston.
Yes.
Shout out to Oakland. The first time we performed at NQAF, which was actually the first time we performed as OYSTERKNIFE back in 2018, and I'm just so grateful for them, for the foundation that they've laid for this festival. Yeah.
Yes.
I also want to point out, I guess, is the festival a Gen Z then? Because they're only 26? That's crazy.
Millennial.
Okay.
A millennial. Okay, just wanted to check that. That's crazy.
They're still chic.
We like them.
We like them. They bring us new language. Cap, all of that. I'm just really good with the young folks. Totally know all of the language. Yes.
And also, I just want to add, while we're here in front of everyone on camera, that we're all very multidisciplinary artists, and I'm just manifesting that as my reel grows, I would love to eventually be able to work with you all in different capacities.
Hard thing,
I'm really excited.
So
As a cartoonist, I am legally required to be very funny, so I can get down.
So this is an official invitation for future opportunities.
yes, I accept.
See, we love
Yeah, actually, sorry, just something I want to plug. Since you're talking about that, Gabe and I actually have a Black queer collective in our home in Oakland called Black Yard, where we host it with a Q, BLAQ.
A venue, so like my reel could be there.
Or if you want to host like a DJ event or anything,
Anyone.
like if anyone, especially Black queer people, but really anybody who wants to have an event in Oakland who needs a cheap space or even a free space to do work there, to do performance, to do workshops, anything, come to us. We have an Instagram at Black Yard. It's BLAQ.yard. And we do like work trades. We have very affordable prices if you want to pay, but we would just love anybody to come use our space. We also have an artist residency in our house too for Black queer artists. So yeah.
We had Mom Snacks there, and there's all these sort of familiar faces were also at our house before. So it's all intertwined. We're all one giant, beautiful fungal web of artists.
So maybe something can happen there with all of us.
Really?
Yeah. And then we won't even have to leave our house.
That's one thing that the pandemic taught me. You can get a lot done from home.
Yes, you can. Yeah. Doing this show was only waist up. Yeah.
I'm not wearing pants right now. Just kidding.
I did wear some nice shoes today. I don't know if you're able to see them, but we'll make sure they get on the next time. We have a 3-camera setup. Absolutely. Oh my God, you're so much fun. There are some surveys, so if you want this kind of programming to continue, a lot of people, I have worked in the academia arts. Sometimes people just like to complain on the I forget what they're called. We don't call them surveys. Questionnaires, but those evaluations, yeah. Yes, no, I super love being evaluated by people younger than me. But really, also, you know, if you have things you want, things, concerns, all that, but the positives, right? Sometimes we only speak up when it's a concern, but also, you know, affirming what is working and what you're liking. You know, if you like my outfit, go put it on the survey. It needs to go there. That's the place for it. Then the folks at home, see they're there. We see you. I know you're a little bit far, but that's okay. And we did this so that you could be doing whatever you want to do and watch it at home. There will be a QR code that you can scan. You can also put in we want your feedback as well. Yes, complaints, concerns.
Affirmations.
Anything I love you.
Yeah, Professor Undying Love, crushes.
Exactly. Who you're most mad about from the Qwere ultimatum? I'm really mad about. I can't even pay attention because of their eyebrows are just really upsetting. Some of them are just way too far apart. It's like that LA. I know. I'm sorry. It was supposed to stay positive, right? Exactly. But I don't know, Xander. What's up with you?
I love how messy that show is, can I just say?
It's the first of its kind. It is the absolute first of its kind, which is wild. Except for, I don't include Tequila or whatever that show too. Yeah, so if you don't know what you're talking about, like the queers, the straights, you might learn something new. I don't know. You might realize we are not all okay, but look what we've been dealing with. And also look at the way the consensual communication that we have with one another about, you know, having an argument in a certain way. But love it. I'm only on episode 6, so no spoilers.
I stayed up till 6 in the morning watching that. It was that addictive. I'm not kidding. Be careful when you start it. You will finish it.
Excellent. Yes, very important. This is archival. It's going to be online forever. But yeah, so thank you so much for coming and being here live and in person with these fabulous humans. Me, thanks to all of the tech folks, to Gwen, our producer, to Anna, to Ali, to Sada, to all of our wonderful ASL interpreters who are here giving it like extra, language, multi-language. Next time it'll be in other languages as well. Big time. You gotta think big time. And yeah, if you want to follow me or just heart everything I post on, I am on the Instagrams. Yes, there might be multiple Instagrams, but just follow this one. The other, I can make it simple for you. At Maya MAYA _ Chapina CHAPINA. And yeah, that's mostly where I put things. I put them in different places in different ways so that because what is continuity really? Hashtag, yes. All the hash my tags all over the place. So that is our show for today. I mean, really, you want us to do this again, right? You want us to do this again? Yeah, this is me holding back. This is actually me holding back. All right, so thank you so much for coming today, for being here with us, taking the time on this beautiful afternoon. We're going to go out and play now. And thanks to everybody who supported and the volunteers, everyone. We love you so much. And have a happy NQAF, National Queer Arts Festival.